In the 1990s, television executives were gripped by an unusual kind of anxiety. It wasn't competition or ratings that worried them most. It was creativity. Whenever a science fiction proposal crossed their desks, tension followed, because that decade unleashed a surge of series so daring and unconventional that they threatened to dismantle television's long-standing rules. These productions were not predictable, comfortable space adventures. They were high-risk experiments driven by paranoia, existential terror, and speculative worlds that reflected real societal fears. Some unsettled broadcast regulators, others baffled advertisers, and several disappeared quietly, only to be rediscovered years later as cult favorites. From alien invasions that felt disturbingly close to reality to narratives that question the nature of existence itself, these 10 science fiction series didn't merely stretch creative limits, they obliterated them, forcing networks to permanently rethink what television could be. Before exploring the list, viewers are encouraged to subscribe to Vintverse, a channel where overlooked classics and bold ideas are brought back to life. At number 10 is Space Above and Beyond from 1995. When it premiered, Fox executives believed they were launching another energetic sci-fi spectacle filled with lasers, heroic pilots, and alien battles. Instead, they were confronted with a grim, emotionally raw portrayal of war that felt deeply uncomfortable. Developed by Glenn Morgan and James Wong, the creators behind The X-Files, the series placed audiences in a future where human colonies are attacked by an alien species known as the Chigs, triggering a desperate interstellar conflict. The war is not fought by superhuman champions, but by young, frightened soldiers who barely comprehend the sacrifices demanded of them. Each episode followed the 58th Squadron, a unit of inexperienced Marines trapped in a nightmare that closely resembled real-world warfare. The show refused to romanticize combat, focusing instead on trauma, moral dilemmas, artificial beings struggling for recognition, and leaders forced to make devastating choices. There were no invincible heroes, only survivors clinging to their humanity. That unflinching realism alarmed executives who preferred escapism over reflection. Advertisers grew uneasy, audiences were expected to turn away, and the series was cancelled after a single season. Yet years later, creators behind darker, more grounded sci-fi dramas openly acknowledged its influence. It was a series that frightened decision-makers because it suggested that humanity itself could be the true enemy. Number 9 is Tech War from 1994. Long before smartphones, social media, or immersive virtual worlds dominated daily life, this series posed a chilling question. What happens when technology becomes more appealing than reality? At the time, the internet was still new, computers were bulky, and cyberspace was an abstract concept. Many executives barely understood the future they were approving. Based on novels by William Shatner, the show followed Jake Cardigan, a former police officer wrongfully imprisoned and later revived into a future ruled by a digital substance known as tech. This wasn't a physical drug, but a neural simulation that allowed users to escape into flawless fantasy lives. Wealth, power, love, everything denied in reality was available inside the illusion. But once connected, the real world began to decay. The series explored addiction, corporate dominance, and moral collapse, unsettling executives with how close it felt to emerging digital obsessions. Each episode plunged deeper into a grim cyber underworld filled with hackers, rogue artificial intelligences, and corrupt officials manipulating technology to control entire populations. Though marketed as action, the show functioned as a warning. It suggested a future where humans willingly surrender autonomy for pleasure, allowing corporations to profit from illusion. Cancelled after 2 seasons for being too dark and niche, Tech War ultimately proved prophetic. At number 8 is Millennium from 1996. When it debuted, Fox executives were already uneasy. Its creator, Chris Carter, had transformed television with The X-Files, but this time his focus wasn't extraterrestrials or secret agencies. It was the darkness within humanity itself. The series followed Frank Black, a former FBI profiler with the unsettling ability to perceive the thoughts of killers. He joins the Millennium Group, a shadowy organization claiming to prepare for the end of the world. As Frank investigates serial crimes and conspiracies rooted in faith, technology, and prophecy, one truth becomes undeniable. Evil does not require monsters. It exists in plain sight. The show's bleak tone, psychological horror, and apocalyptic themes horrified executives and advertisers alike. Religious groups protested, network censors demanded changes, and even cast members reportedly felt disturbed during production. Despite this, audiences remained captivated. The series mirrored late 1990s cultural anxiety, suggesting that the end might not be approaching, it may have already begun. Though it lasted only 3 seasons, it laid the groundwork for modern psychological crime dramas. Number 7 is The Outer Limits revival from 1995. When Showtime resurrected the classic anthology series, even its own executives couldn't predict how intense the response would be. While the original 1960s version was known for mind-bending ideas, the reboot pushed even further. Each standalone episode explored unsettling concepts such as cloning, artificial intelligence, genetic manipulation, and ethical collapse. There were no recurring heroes and no guaranteed happy endings. Scientists created life only to destroy it, moral boundaries dissolved, and progress often came at unbearable cost. Network lawyers demanded disclaimers, religious organizations accused the show of overstepping moral boundaries, and executives dreaded audience backlash. Yet viewers were enthralled. The show refused to follow television norms, challenging audiences to confront uncomfortable questions about humanity's future. Decades later, many episodes still feel eerily predictive. Number 6 is Farscape from 1999. By the end of the decade, executives had grown comfortable with predictable sci-fi formulas. Then Farscape arrived and shattered expectations. Created by Rockno Bannon and produced by the Jim Henson Company, the series followed astronaut John Crichton, who is thrown through a wormhole into a chaotic universe filled with living ships, bizarre alien cultures, and relentless conflict. What unsettled executives wasn't the premise, but the execution. Animatronic alien characters, surreal humor, emotional intensity, and unpredictable storytelling made the show impossible to categorize. It explored trauma, identity, and isolation through wildly imaginative metaphors. Beneath its visual chaos was a deeply human story about survival and sanity in an unforgiving universe. At number 5 is Stargate SG-1 from 1997. While it appeared to be a straightforward television adaptation of a successful film, executives were uneasy about its ambitions. The series followed a covert military team using an ancient alien gateway to explore distant worlds. But beyond adventure, it examined religion, power, oppression, and rebellion. Its villains were not monsters, but false gods manipulating belief for control. The show's serialized mythology, moral complexity, and tonal range worried networks accustomed to episodic storytelling. Instead, it became one of the longest-running and most beloved science fiction series in history, spawning spin-offs and a devoted global fanbase. Number 4 is Sliders from 1995. Initially approved as a light-hearted adventure, the series quickly evolved into a sharp social commentary. Following Quinn Mallory and his companions as they traveled between alternate Earths, the show examined political extremism, authoritarianism, corporate dominance, and societal collapse. Its intelligence made executives nervous, and network interference eventually diluted its original vision. Still, its early seasons left a lasting impact by suggesting that humanity's greatest threat is itself. At number 3 is Babylon 5 from 1994. Creator J. Michael Straczynski proposed a radical concept, a 5-year story planned from beginning to end. Executives feared serialized storytelling would alienate viewers. Set aboard a neutral space station, the series explored politics, war, faith, and destiny through evolving characters and irreversible consequences. Its early use of CGI, complex themes, and long-form narrative reshaped television drama and influenced countless series that followed. Number 2 is Star Trek: Deep Space Nine from 1993. Unlike previous entries in the franchise, this series abandoned utopian certainty in favor of moral ambiguity. Set on a stationary outpost near a powerful wormhole, it explored occupation, religion, terrorism, and the cost of war. Executives feared its serialized storytelling and darker tone, but audiences embraced its honesty. Finally, at number 1 is The X-Files from 1993. What began as a risky concept A pair of FBI agents investigating conspiracies and the unexplained became a cultural phenomenon. Its paranoia-soaked atmosphere, refusal to provide clear answers, and long-running mythology challenged television conventions. Executives struggled to control it, but audiences were captivated. The series proved that viewers craved mystery, complexity, and distrust of authority. In doing so, it permanently transformed television storytelling. Viewers are invited to share which of these shows left a lasting impact and to support the channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing with others who still believe there's wonder hidden in the static.